Okay, we continue with our series of selections from the HaChaim and Parshas HaShavuah, and this series is dedicated for a Schuss for Shema for Rína Bat Esther for Shema Tekef Umiyah Betושח All Yisrael. So the HaChaim Kedarko, as anyone who's been following the series knows, he notices subtleties, and he counts the word in the pasuk to make sure there's no extra words. Everything is teaching us something. So let's just read the very first pasuk in this week's parsha and explain what the HaChaim notices. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lifanav. Yaakov sent angels before him. El Esav achiv, to Esav his brother, Artz Seir, towards the land of Seir, if that's right, but stay Edom, the field of Edom. The pasuk could have easily said Vayishlach Yaakov malachim El Esav, period. You know, be a 3-4 letter pasuk. Same message, no? Sent messengers to Esav. Was it? He sent Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav, before him. One totally extra word. El Esav achiv. Why do you have to add that Esav is his brother? Artza Seir, stay Edom, towards the land of Seir, the field of Edom. First, you don't have to mention the place at all. The main thing is that he sent to Esav. He's sending a message, a personal message. Well, you got to know the location. And if you want to mention the locations, Artza Seir, towards the land of Seir, Sdei Edom, right? The field of Edom. Why all those details? And also another thing is Artza Seir, towards land. So you could say Le'eretz Seir, which is conventional. So even though, as HaChaim points out, it's all grammatically the same, but why change the normal way of saying it? Normal manner of expression would be le'eretz seir. Why artza seir? So the extra words are lefanav, achiv, his brother, artza seir, stay Edom. Okay, these are the many extra words that the HaChaim brings to our attention. Anyway, so to explain how the HaChaim wants to unpack that and find a message in all the extra words. So he prefaces with what Rashi says, Malachim Mamish, literally, Yaakov literally sent, not Malachim in the sense of messengers, earthly messengers, but Malachim literally heavenly messengers. He employed, spiritual entities to do this, the shlichus, this mission, as the midrashim say, that they did their job well, and they sometimes appeared very fearsome, very scary to intimidate. So they knew how to do the job and convey all the different issues that Yaakov wanted to convey. So says the HaChaim is, now to understand where the HaChaim is coming from, we have to give a preface to which he assumes the reader knows. Okay, we do have this concept of making use of, not that it's permissible, as we're going to explain. There is a concept that there are divine names that can be invoked that could alter reality. And it works there are two different methods of doing that. And God forbid, there's a concept of shem tumah, right? That we find Rashi brings it. That's what, Avraham Avinu taught the children of the Pelagshim. Must shem tumah masalahem. You can manipulate reality by also, God forbid, manipulating the force of evil and manipulating demons, right? God forbid, which is definitely usher. That is for sure usher. But let's talk about when using divine names, you're first of all doing your business, for lack of a better word, with the sitra, the kedusha, from the holy side. You're not, dealing with the other side at all, and you want to do something good. So let's talk about that for a second and understand that, right? That even though you're working with the good side, right? We are not licensed to make use of this technology, call it. We're supposed to learn it to understand the wisdom of creation, that all of creation was created by Hashem's, utterances, so-called, that the whole world was made by divine names. And just like the world was made by divine names, the world could be manipulated by divine names. Right? And it's just for our chachma to understand how everything is rooted in a certain shem shamayim. That's really why anyone should ever even attempt to learn this, for the chachma shebo. Right? Now, this knowledge, teaches us. And this is all, by the way, in the Ramchal, in the Derech Hashem, in the third chilek. Everything I'm saying here can be found there. The Ramchal it lays out that there are certain special divine names that appeal to Hashem as a special form of prayer to get a certain type of response. And even that we're only allowed to do when we have permission to use those special names, but it works on the prayer mechanism, right? And that's one way. And then there's another thing that, so it's a prayer mechanism to ask Hashem to send down certain energies. It's kind of like the principle when you ask Hashem for Parnasa, he sends Parnasa, he asks, is to ask him to send out certain energies that would, move reality around a little bit, push things out of their natural balance. I have to do something supernatural, which means to move the natural out of its natural balance. And that's why this is wrong. I mean, it's usher, and as the word the sibasa is, so the tam mitzvah of why it's usher is that it ruins the cosmic balance. Hashem wants the world to run b'derech hateva, and if you need something, just daven a simple tefillah for it, and you could change the world. The way we're licensed to change the world is only through Torah and mitzvahs. We're not licensed to do things like this that ruin the cosmic balance that Hashem wants. Right? But we're supposed to know the chachma of it. But one mechanism is the prayer mechanism, right? And since it's a prayer mechanism, special divine names in a prayer type mechanism, even if you did it, you decide to do it, it may not work. It may not work because that's just like Hashem doesn't answer. He refuses prayer sometimes because it's not for good. So this type of mechanism could be refused, right? But you still get the avera for trying if it wasn't warranted. Okay. And any things that we have in our folklore about people using shemos, if any of it is true, those legends, the preface of the story is that it was revealed from heaven that they have permission. That is the right, and you understand that this is the case. I mean, I'll say this. I don't want to. This topic could go on and on. But, people who may have known this technology did not employ it to save their lives or the lives of others, by Chorban Abayis, and through the Crusades. And, it is not mutter to use these things. Now, here's an interesting thing, halacha l'ma'aseh. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi, I'm just bringing to your attention, the idea of writing a kamea, okay? There are those, who are more mako by giving kameos, and this is a very serious halacha l'ma'aseh question. All right, and I'm not getting into that, the actual general use of kamea in general. I just want to bring to your attention something else. This is halacha psuka. Now, let's say I could write a kamea that will save someone's life, and it's Shabbos. You can't write on Shabbos. Now, Joe, you say pikuach nefesh docha Shabbos, pikuach docha Shabbos. Pikuach nefesh docha Shabbos only if you for conventional medicine. Now go check with your local Orthodox rabbi. Not that I would trust anyone to write a kameh to save anyone's life. Go to the hospital. But even if someone would know and there's a kameh that's baruch minusa, you cannot be machal Shabbos to write a kameh to save a person's life on Shabbos. There's another thing. Ask go test your rabbi. I understand that there was a shaila that came up. From the Gdolei Achronim of a few generations ago, Hasidic Gdolim, who were really big Balei Halacha, handled a shaila about sending a telegram on Shabbos. I think it was to the Belzer Rebbe. Is it mutter and send a telegram on Shabbos to the Belzer? I think it was the Belzer Rebbe. I can't say for sure. That he should daven for someone. It's pikuach nefesh. So it's pikuach nefesh. Docha kol Torah kula. No, but it is not. You're sending a telegram for tefillah. What is docha Shabbos is conventional medicine. Not, so, and again, if this ever comes up, ask your local Orthodox rabbi. But the point I want to bring is, it's mutter to daven, but we are, the Torah only sanctioned, remedying a situation through natural means other than tefillah directly to Hashem. And even for pikuach nefesh, it is not automatically mutter to do anything supernatural. And so you're doing something if the supernatural involves Chilul Shabbos. Okay, but this is all questions for your local Orthodox rabbi. Go ahead, challenge them, make them feel uncomfortable, and tell me what happens. Okay, I'm kidding. Okay, anyways, releasing some anger. Anyways, let's get back to the case in point, right? So now, but here's the thing. This is the Ramchal. This everything I'm saying is in the Ramchal, Chelik Gimel of Derech Hashem. You forgive me if I don't remember the exact chapter, but everything I'm saying is all black and white over there. So the prayer principle may not even work if you are unworthy. And even for that, you need divine permission. But what would work, even if you're unworthy, is using the divine names to manipulate the angels. Because the angels are bound by certain divine names. They are obliged. That's their nature. They are that divine name is that through they exist, and they have to obey those divine names. Okay, so even a non-worthy person can, if he knows how, use the divine names to push around the angels. And it's usher to do, and it ruins the cosmic balance, but it will work even though he's unworthy, and he'll pay for it. He's going to pay for it. The whole world will suffer because it ruined the cosmic balance. So you got the short-term benefit, but it's like the short blanket. You pull it over your face, to warm up your face, you uncover your feet. Someone's going to pay for it. It is not just that the person who did it unauthorized will have to give din v'cheshbon on what he did, but the world suffers for it, right? But here's another thing about it: when you push around the angels, they remember what you did, and you pushed them around, and it wasn't authorized, and they get even with you to whatever extent they have latitude to do so. They don't have free will, but they do respond. Like animals don't have free will either, right? But you get them angry, they respond, right? It's not, response is not a function of free will. It's a function of nature. Get someone tick off an animal, it will respond. Tick off an angel, he will respond. Right? And they get even with you. Okay, to whatever extent Hashem will allow it, and you deserve it. So there will be latitude for them to get even with you. Okay, so never do this. Never do this, even if you would know how. Most people claim to know how and do it all the time are not really doing it. They're all charlatans. They're all gonna. The only thing you can be sure of is that they'll take your money. It's the one thing you'll know that they did for sure, right? Is they took your money. That's the one thing that's vadai. And if anything happened, it was just ayin. It's Avodah Zarah Daf Nun Daled, right? They got lucky that your suffering was meant to end anyway at that time or about that time. Chaloim roim v'ne'emanim. Right, and you want them finally when your storm going to end anyways, and you just attribute it to them. It's a Gemara. It's on Daf Nun Daled, I believe. Right, or they're pushing around the demons. That's a lot easier to do. Advocates don't ever get involved in any of this stuff, or go to someone who claims to be doing this stuff, or you suspect is doing this stuff. Okay, so now with that big preface in mind, that even with angels where it almost works surefire, it has to be mutter to do. It has to be warranted. So now with all this background knowledge which the HaChaim assumed you had, now we go back to the pasuk, right? And see that that the pasuk is really explaining in code form Yaakov's heter, right? What he paskin for himself, that he can use the angels. So first of all, it all starts with Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. He sent the angels that were in front of him. He had a sign from heaven that he is allowed to, engage in this question that maybe I could employ the angels, right? Because these angels were in front of him, as it per the end of last Israel. He bumped into a bunch of angels. There were a bunch of angels in front of him, ready to serve him. That was a hot tip from heaven, right? Angels are at your disposal, right? But even then, he handled the Shiloh responsibly, whether it would be the right thing to do. So what tipped him off that, he should think this and maybe make use of it, was that the Malachim were lefonav. They were in front of him at his service, right? So he thought it through, right? He says, this is a complicated shichus. El Esav Achiv. Esav Achiv. And what is Esav? That hates me. On the other hand, he might pretend to be my brother. He is my brother. Maybe the natural brotherly love will come out. Maybe he'll pretend. This is a complicated mission. How to, gauge him. Is he acting as Esav? Is he coming to war? Or is he acting as Achiv? Or maybe he's Esav pretending to be Achiv, right? Pretending to be nice. And they have to engage in accordingly. Or delivering a tough message, a conciliatory message. They have to know also how to, relay back to Yaakov accurate information, whether Esav is coming in peace or he's coming in war, or is, coming for war, but pretending he's coming for peace. That's why you have to send angels. Angels can't be fooled. Angels will know how to respond and make the correct presentation, whether he's acting as Esav or he's acting as Achiv, or acting a little bit of both. It's a complex mission because the Esav aspect, the Achiv aspect, and how Esav could be masquerading as Achiv. Got to send the angels. Okay, here's another way you got to send angels, right? He wants Esav to hear for the first time that Yaakov is coming in peace. He wants to hear that Yaakov's on his way from the first time from Yaakov, not from outside sources, right? He wants to hear from, so you need someone who could get to Esav in a split second, not someone who's got to, take Amtrak that's always delayed. It wasn't a nice thing to say about Amtrak, was it? Anyways, you don't want, airplanes. Airplanes, always delayed, especially if it might be Thanksgiving Day weekend, a lot of delays, right? You got to send angels, right, that don't need public transportation, right? And they can get there in a second. So that's what he says. I would say, it doesn't say Le'eretz Seir. Le'eretz Seir, since you use the conventional Lashon, right, the conventional to the land of Seir, Le'eretz Seir was that they went the conventional way, go by Pony Express, whatever it is, hitchhike, that could take a long time, and that's not good, right? Esav should never hear from other people first that Yaakov is on his way. Hear it from Yaakov's messengers first. So you got to get there quick. So that's what the Arts say. They went all the way, so it was hinted to. They didn't say Le'eretz Seir, but Arts do towards land of Seir, towards lands of Seir, said in that different way to drop in that they went there, teleportation instantly. And this is not just for the purpose of getting the message into him first, to make the first impression and form the first idea in his mind of how Yaakov is coming, right? But it's also the other way, right? To be able to report back to Yaakov very quickly, so Yaakov could know how to, like in the following psukim, they came back, they went instantly, they came back instantly, right? So Yaakov immediately knows, what's going on and knows how to prepare. So you got to get angels for that. So that's Artsir. Then Stay Edom happens to have been where Esav really was. But Artsir here was, to allude to that they got there, Stay Edom. So the whole pasuk is really, all these extra words are addressing why Yaakov saw fit and felt that it was warranted to employ angels for this mission. All right. We'll just end off with another thing. The HaChaim says, that this pasuk is a remez also to the three states of existence that we have with Esav. Achiv, Artsa Seir, Stay Edom. Achiv refers to really how we were with Esav until the time of, the Second Temple, right, and the destruction thereof. Right, it's very interesting that with the exception of Amalek, who descends from Esav, but with the exception, obviously the HaChaim is saying, leave Amalek out of this, right? But Edom in general, right? You read through Tanakh, and Josephus for basically most of our history up to the end, the second half of the Second Temple. It was Achiv. We kind of got along, mostly got along for a very good chunk of time till, like I said, toward the Zman of Chorban Bayesheni. So that was Achiv, right? But then there was Arza Seir. He says that Arza Seir, the way it's expressed here, as opposed to Eretz Seir, Arza could also be the prominent land of Seir. The prominent land, that's the time of the Roman Empire, right? Which we're now in a continuation thereof. This is all called Golus Edom. He is the prominent land of Seir, and we are captured under him, all right? But then there's the third era, Stedom, the field of Edom. What's a field? A field you just plow over. And that's coming the Gula, Hashlema, that should be very real, that we're just going to plow them over like a field that gets plowed. We're going to plow over the field of Edom, and we will rule over them. Lishbot es Har Esav. I will bring justice against Har Esav. Vayishlach Hashem Amlucha. It should be Bimher B'Yameinu Amen is all Schus for Shlema of Ariella, Rína, Bas Esther for Shlema. Tekri Betושח.